Hello friends, I'm DasFood, and today I am playing the role of Dr. Peter Perk Inspector, and my role as the good old doc is to take a look at Dead by Daylight's mini perks and evaluate them for their worth. Some perks are good, some perks are bad, but one thing is for sure, there are a lot of perks, and somebody's got to inspect them. The subject of today's video is Fast Track, a neat little gen speed perk that you've probably never used. Speaking of things you've probably never used, I highly recommend you click the link in the description and go to twitch.com/das_food. I stream Dead by Daylight every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and it's a goofy good time. Don't believe me? Check out this rave review from one of my biggest fans.
I love DasFood's content. I like to watch it while I am sitting under my heat lamp and warming my very human skin. Good content.
Wow, the love I receive from my community never ceases to amaze me. Anyway, back to the video. As always, we start with the history of the perk in question. Fast Track is one of Yunjin Lee's teachable perks and was added as part of the All Kill chapter, which also added the Trickster and a really cool map that definitely exists. You guys just don't know it because it goes to a different school. The chapter was released in March of 2021, and while Trickster was initially a little on the controversial side due to his aesthetic, Yunjin was an immediate highlight. Players loved Yunjin's morally gray lore, which, let's be honest, was less morally gray and more, oh hell, she's heartless, and seemed to dig her well-kempt, chic character design. Her perks, though, were considered to be anything but special. In addition to Fast Track, Yunjin also came with Smash Hit and Self-Preservation. To summarize these perks as succinctly as possible, Smash Hit is fun, but also probably the worst exhaustion perk in the entire game, and Self-Preservation is a perk so niche that even I, the autodidact and pharmacy stan, look at it and say, yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to get any value out of that. Fast Track is easily Yunjin's most interesting perk, but is it any good? Well, let's look at the good, the bad, and everything in between and see what we come away with. Firstly, what does the perk do? Unlike Autodidact, which we covered last time out, the description for Fast Track is pretty simple. Whenever another survivor is hooked, Fast Track gains 3 tokens, up to a maximum of 27 tokens. You consume all accumulated tokens after hitting a great skill check. Each token grants a stackable 1% bonus progression to generator progress, in addition to the default progression bonus for succeeding a great skill check. To understand the value of Fast Track, one must first understand the value of great skill checks. Unlike good skill checks, which only keep the generator from regressing and exploding, or I guess reverse that order, great skill checks already offer a 1% progression bonus. In simple terms, this means if you've done 50% of a generator and hit a great skill check, then you will have completed 51% of that generator. Pretty straightforward, right? Assuming you're operating with the minimum amount of tokens, that being 3 if you have the perk fully upgraded, hitting a great skill check will progress a generator by an additional 4%. If you've saved up to the maximum of 27 tokens, you can nearly complete 30% of a generator in a single skill check. Obviously, that sounds pretty useful, but it's worth noting that you're not going to hit a 27 token skill check very often. What I like about Fast Track as a perk is that to some extent, it scales alongside the difficulty of a given game. If the killer is doing well and getting lots of hooks, you'll receive plenty of Fast Track tokens. If the killer isn't getting hooks, then you didn't need an additional advantage anyway, and you're not going to get any tokens. In this regard, Fast Track is one of the healthiest perks for game balance, as it helps teams in need without snowballing further punishment against a killer that's already having a hard time. Fast Track isn't perfect though, and it does come with some notable downsides. First off, the case of tunneling. If you get tunneled out of the game as quickly as possible, this perk isn't going to help you. It's not going to do anything for you. If you're the one getting hooked, you're missing out on value. Now, this is admittedly a pretty minor complaint, seeing as though few perks really do much against a skilled killer who's determined to eliminate you as quickly as possible, but, you know, it does bear mentioning. If you're getting tunneled, you're going to be a lot better off running an exhaustion perk or decisive strike or something along those lines. Another downside of Fast Track is that, as was the case with Autodidact, this is a perk reliant on skill checks, and sometimes they just don't pop up frequently enough. You may have the gen nearly finished and 9 tokens to burn, but if you don't get a timely skill check, the killer can still run you off the generator and prevent you from getting any Fast Track value. For this reason, I highly advise not running Fast Track unless you're also prepared to run Spine Chill, which makes you 10% more likely to receive a skill check when within 36 meters of the killer, or when the killer is looking at you within 36 meters, because that is 10% more likely to get a skill check, and therefore you're 10% more likely to get Fast Track value. This shouldn't be a problem though, as Spine Chill is already an S tier perk, and you'd be smart to run it regardless of if you have Fast Track or not. If I had to offer one more criticism of Fast Track, it would be that the perk sometimes de-incentivizes you from hitting great skill checks. Like, imagine you're on a gen and the killer is nowhere to be seen, or even you're on comms and you know that the killer's on the whole other side of the map. You are roughly 70% done with your generator and say you have, 12 Fast Track tokens. Odds are you don't want to burn those tokens on that generator because they'd be far more valuable elsewhere. This leads you to a situation where you can only hit good skill checks and take longer to finish the gen, or hit a great skill check and pretty much waste your stacks on that generator that you were going to pop anyway. This is a pretty niche sounding situation, but I do find these types of scenarios playing out far more than I would have anticipated when I started using the perk. Again, I know it's a bit of a nitpick, but I do try to be thorough with these reviews, so if I see a downside, I'm gonna mention it. Even with those negatives being said, this is still a perk I really recommend running if you're looking to spice up your DBD matches. While I definitely don't think it's as strong as Prove Thyself, Fast Track is still a solid perk for hammering out generators. It doesn't force you to rely on your teammates nearly as much. It doesn't seem like the type of perk to win matches by itself, but there are few better feelings than when Fast Track shaves off time from a gen and allows you to pop it just in the nick of time. Also, not that I would encourage you to be so cruel, but for those of you who want to dabble in a little bit of the funny business, it's worth noting that Fast Track also activates for brand new part skill checks. This means that if you hold on to your brand new part until, halfway or 3/4 through the match, you can get the benefit of the brand new part add-on plus another 3 to 27% of generator progress from Fast Track. That means that at maximum, you could do 52% of a generator's progress in 5 seconds. Again, I'm not recommending you do this, but I'm not stopping you either. In terms of what to run with Fast Track, there are kind of 2 trains of thought here. The first one concerns those who struggle with great skill checks. For them, it's very tempting to run David Tapp's Stakeout, which automatically grants great skill checks after staying in the killer's terror radius for a set amount of time. And perhaps this is the move for you. If you do this, though, I do advise you still try to go for great skill checks on your own, seeing as though it's a great ability to have and one that you kind of need to learn at some point. And while I know it can be scary to think about missing skill checks and alerting the killer and regressing progress and all that, I definitely wouldn't run Fengmin's perk Technician unless you're just absolutely dreadful at skill checks and you just can't figure them out. Which, by the way, is totally valid if that's where you are as a player. And if that's where you are as a player, maybe you do need to run Technician, but I wouldn't start with Fast Track. Take some time to figure out skill checks and then come back to Fast Track. It will still be waiting for you and it will still be pretty cool. If you are pretty confident with your skill checks, I'd advise ditching Stakeout altogether and instead focusing on either a more well-rounded build or a balls-to-the-wall gen rushing build. For a more well-rounded build, just stick to the basics. Run Fast Track with Spine Chill and your choice of powerful perks such as Borrowed Time, Decisive Strike, and an exhaustion perk of your choosing. But don't do Dead Hard. Remember, if you run Dead Hard, you have small teeth. For the gen rushing build, I still recommend Spine Chill, but also suggest adding Prove Thyself and maybe even one other gen-based perk. But of course, that's probably overkill. If you're in a Survive with Friends with comms, maybe consider running Overzealous or something fun like Blast Mine. If you're going it alone, I'd go with either Detective's Hunch or Situational Awareness. Again, only run these builds if gens are the only priority for you in a given trial, which in more trials than not, they won't be. But sometimes you have a tome and all you want to do is knock out gens, so in those situations, maybe run the gen heavy build. Oh, it's also worth noting that if you are running Spine Chill with Fast Track, I would already consider what you're running to be a kind of gen heavy build, so anything you stack on top of that is really just kind of reaching overkill territory, but sometimes it's fun to go overkill, so you do you. One additional benefit of Fast Track that I'd like to give is how it creates a silver lining for bad situations. Usually, seeing a teammate get hooked is a pretty bad feeling, but with Fast Track, it comes with the minor trade-off of also giving you the ability to do gens faster. While having teammates get hooked is still far from ideal, at least this perk takes the sting off a little bit. Much like Autodidact, Fast Track also gives you tokens to hunt down too, so that's another plus. Even if these tokens are earned passively, it's different. They're earned passively, but they're still spent actively, so I think it still feels satisfying. In closing, Fast Track is a fun perk with levels of usefulness that often go underappreciated. It has good synergy with other strong perks, and even teaches you how to get better at skill checks, which, after all, if you're not hitting great skill checks, you're going to be sitting on a mountain of tokens that aren't doing anything for anyone, even though they do kind of look cool on the bottom of your screen, if I'm being entirely honest. This is a perk that is good for the game, and is likely good for your personal experience as well. I give Fast Track an "oh no, I wasted all my tokens" out of 10, and I highly advise you use it. But that's gonna do it for me. What did you think of this video? Which perks do you want to see me cover next? Do you have any critiques with my logic here? Any perks that maybe they work super well with Fast Track that I didn't mention here? Come on, let me hear about it in the comments. I want to know, because I want this to be an educational video that somebody who comes to this might walk away with a new perspective, or especially if you have new players who are trying to figure out which perks to use, it would be the coolest thing in the world if they could come to my videos and read your comments and walk away with a better understanding of how the game works. But that's going to do it for me. Again, I got to remind you, we do Twitch. It's fun. Go to it. Go do the thing. Go to the Twitch, the Twitcher, the Twitchy Twitch. Go watch it. It's fun. But anyway, I have been Das Food. And until next time, bye friends.
I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase bitterness in my